Alana and I were dining at an elegant, upscale restaurant to celebrate our 3rd anniversary. The soft hum of conversation mixed with the clink of glasses, creating an ambience of refined intimacy. I was savoring the moment when I noticed my best friend, Terence Landis, weaving through the tables, his confident stride as unmistakable as ever. Leaning toward Alana, I whispered quietly, "Terence is coming this way. You remember, he's been my best friend since 2nd grade. But be cautious around him. He's a notorious womanizer." Alana tilted her head slightly, her lips curving into a wry smile. "I should be safe then," she quipped, her voice laced with playful confidence. "I'm far from being overly extreme." After a beat, she added, "Isn't he the one who's quite wealthy?" I nodded, standing to greet Terence. Before I could extend my hand, he enveloped me in a bear hug, lifting me slightly off the ground. The public display made me a bit uncomfortable, but that was Terence, bold and unapologetic. "Tim, damn, it's good to see you." "It's been way too long," he exclaimed, his voice booming with enthusiasm. Then, as his gaze shifted to Alana, he visibly slowed, his eyes scanning her from head to toe before lingering uncomfortably on her chest. "And is this your beautiful wife, Alana?" he asked, his tone suddenly softer. "I was in Singapore when you got married, but I sent a gift. Hope you liked it." Alana's smile brightened as she replied, "You're the one who sent Tim that fancy new pickup truck, right?" I nodded, eager to steer the conversation. "Alana, this is Terence." But before I could finish, Terence nudged me aside and pulled her into a hug. He held her a moment longer than seemed appropriate, leaving me shifting uneasily. "It's nice to finally meet you in person," Alana said as she pulled back. Her tone carried a hint of admiration that grated on me. "You didn't tell me how tall and handsome he is," she added, her voice trailing off in a way that felt far too complimentary. I cleared my throat, attempting to redirect the conversation. "So, Terence, what brings you to Daytona?" He leaned back casually, his charisma oozing with every word. "I just bought a condo at the Dunes," he said, "having it remodeled, so I'm staying at a hotel for now. Came here for a solo dinner." "A condo at the Dunes?" Alana asked, her interest piqued. "Those are practically brand new. Why remodel?" Terence shrugged, flashing an easy smile. "You're right, but the bedrooms felt a bit cramped. Luckily, a penthouse was available, so I jumped on it. I'm repainting and replacing the furniture." As he spoke, I couldn't help but notice the way Alana leaned in, completely engrossed. Terence, always skilled at playing to his audience, seemed to know exactly how to captivate her. Alana, for all her charm, had a penchant for luxury that I couldn't always satisfy. Watching their interaction, I felt a gnawing discomfort grow in the pit of my stomach. The waiter arrived with our food, and I seized the chance to reclaim our evening. "Alana," I said, "we should sit back down and enjoy this while it's still hot." But Alana, ignoring me entirely, turned back to Terence. "You should join us. Tim talks about you so fondly, and I'd love to get to know you better. After all, my husband's best friend is my friend too." Terence hesitated, glancing at me for confirmation. "I don't want to intrude on your anniversary dinner," he said, though the sparkle in his eye betrayed his reluctance. "Nonsense," Alana interjected, signaling the waiter. "Could we please have another place setting?" Within minutes, Terence was seated at our table, effortlessly monopolizing the conversation. I found myself half listening, scrolling aimlessly on my phone, until Alana's voice snapped my attention back. "Tim, we have 2 extra rooms. Why don't we invite Terence to stay with us while his condo gets finished? It'd give you 2 a chance to catch up, and he could enjoy some home-cooked meals." I froze, blindsided by the suggestion. The thought of Terence, with his reputation and charm, staying under our roof felt like a recipe for disaster. I glanced at Alana, noting the way she leaned toward him, her neckline dipping slightly. Terence's gaze flickered, his interest all too apparent. "Terence would enjoy my cooking," Alana continued, her smile sweet but sly. I bit back the urge to laugh bitterly, knowing full well she'd likely serve high-end takeout on fine china, passing it off as her own. Terence, for his part, looked delighted. It didn't take much convincing for him to agree. As Alana and Terence continued their flirtatious banter, I felt increasingly invisible. My mind drifted to my late wife, Helen, whose loyalty had never once been in question. Helen and Terence had been good friends too, but there was never a hint of impropriety. Her loss 5 years ago had left a void I thought Alana might fill. Now, watching her charm Terence with ease, I couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was the beginning of something I wasn't ready to confront. I never thought my marriage would end the way it did, but life has a way of surprising you. Alana and I had been together for a while, and while our relationship had its ups and downs, I always believed we could work through anything. I was wrong. Alana had been living comfortably off her substantial divorce settlement from her previous marriage, along with the fruits of her hard work. Meanwhile, I had my own financial independence, thanks to a solid income from my investments and a well-paying job. Her wealth never intimidated me. In fact, I had signed a prenuptial agreement before we married, which ensured I wouldn't have any claim to her assets. I didn't mind. I wasn't in it for the money. That Monday evening, when I returned home after a long day at work, I immediately noticed a shift in the atmosphere. Alana and her old friend Terence, who had recently come back into her life, seemed far too comfortable around each other. Dinner was ready, but the empty takeout containers in the trash revealed it was from an upscale restaurant, one Alana loved but we rarely indulged in. As I entered the living room, they were so engrossed in conversation that they didn't even notice me. Frustrated, I tried to make my presence known, but they didn't acknowledge me. Feeling like an intruder in my own home, I silently retreated upstairs. The pit in my stomach told me something was off, but I tried to convince myself I was overreacting. By Wednesday evening, my worst fears were confirmed. When I walked into the living room, I saw them sitting on the ridiculously expensive couch Alana had insisted on buying, far too close for comfort. The tension in the air was palpable. Before I could say anything, Alana turned to me with an oddly calm expression. "Tim, we need to talk," she began, her tone unsettlingly composed. I froze, caught completely off guard. My mind raced as she continued. "Terence and I have realized something. We're soulmates," she said, her voice tinged with a mix of guilt and determination. "We didn't plan for this to happen, but the connection between us is undeniable. I'm going to divorce you, Tim. I want to marry Terence." Her words hit me like a freight train. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was ending our marriage for a man she had only recently reconnected with. My initial reaction was a mix of anger and disbelief. "You can't be serious," I said, my voice shaking. "I'll fight you every step of the way. You're not just going to walk away with my house and half my savings without a fight." Alana, unfazed by my reaction, dismissed my concerns with a condescending smile. "Tim, I don't want your money. I didn't marry you for it, and I'm not asking for anything in the divorce. This will go much faster if we keep it simple." She then dropped another bombshell. "I'll be staying with Terence for the next few nights while his condo is being painted. Don't expect any complaints or tears from me. This is happening, Tim." Her indifference stung more than her words. Numb, I nodded and walked out of the house, heading straight to the nearest bar to drown my sorrows. The divorce proceedings were surprisingly swift. With Alana waiving any claims to my assets, the paperwork moved quickly, and within a few months, it was finalized. I was officially single again. The weekend after the divorce, I found myself at the restaurant where Alana had first reconnected with Terence. To my surprise, there he was, sitting alone at a table for two. I couldn't resist the urge to confront him. I walked over and sat down without invitation. "Do you want to kiss my feet here in public or save it for a more private setting?" Terence quipped, flashing a smug grin. I responded dryly, "I don't understand how you're so pleased. Do you realize what you've gotten yourself into?" Terence leaned back in his chair, completely unfazed. "Relax, Tim. You're missing the bigger picture." "Oh. Enlighten me," I said, sarcasm dripping from my voice. He smirked. "Think about it. What was the final straw for you with Alana? What made you want out?" I hesitated, then admitted. Maybe it was finding out her personal trainer was sleeping with her 3 times a week. That was enough for me. Terence laughed. "Exactly. Alana's as stubborn and vindictive as they come. But I know how to handle her." I raised an eyebrow. "You didn't think that way when you proposed to her." Terence leaned in, his tone conspiratorial. "That's the thing. I never proposed. I set the stage. You know that engagement gift I gave her? A weekend at the Ritz with a spa day? The personal trainer she'd been seeing works there now. I made sure to arrange everything. Paid for the room, even had a key. "You're kidding," I said, stunned. "Nope," he said, his grin widening. When I walked in, she was with him. I recorded the whole thing. She was devastated. But hey, at least she got what she deserved. Now she's out apartment hunting while sobbing her eyes out. That's love for you, Tim. I stared at him, struggling to process the sheer audacity of his plan. Despite everything, I couldn't help but laugh. "Well," I said, raising an imaginary glass, "here's to dodging bullets." "And to having each other's backs," Terence added with a grin. As twisted as it was, I realized I had just witnessed a masterclass in revenge. And for the first time in months, I felt a sense of closure.